Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformations. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Good morning and welcome to Life Transformation Radio. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx speaker, business positioning strategist, and author, Sean Douglas. This show is currently heard in over 70 countries, such as the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, Brazil, and Argentina. So I want to thank you to those who are listening from around the world. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformation. Here is where we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing. We highlight that transformational moment that has changed our lives and how we use this to then transform others and elevate their lives as well. You can listen to us live right here on the Blog Talk Radio Network Tuesday through Friday. Join our Facebook community and have the opportunity to chat with the guests that I bring on the show. You can join our Facebook community at Life Transformation Radio Community. I ask that you subscribe, rate, and review the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn, Player FM, Radio Public, Overcast, CastBox, the Himalaya app, or the Google Play Music app, or wherever you are comfortable listening to podcasts. Please subscribe to the show, and if you like it, rate and review. On the show, I bring on entrepreneurs, speakers, business owners, coaches, podcasters, authors, amazing people who are having an impact in the world around them. And my guest today does exactly that. If you have any questions for any of the guests that I bring on the show, when we are live, you can call us up at 657-383-1109. Again, the number, 657-383-1109. And with that, please help me welcome to the show my friend, Sean Tyler Foley. What's up, my friend?
Oh, not much, Sean. Hanging out, enjoying the day.
Oh, man. So you're calling in from Canada, right?
That's right. Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Outstanding. Outstanding. So, dude, this has been a long time coming, I think.
It really has.
We've
yes.
We've known each other a while, and dude, I'm just so pumped to see your success in the time that I've known you, and to see where you've come from and where you're heading to, and we're going to talk about that on the show, and you've got a pretty big launch coming up, in the next couple days. So I'm excited for you, man. I really am.
Yeah, no, 24 hours from now we're launching the new book, and I'm quite pumped about it. I'm really excited. So that's been a long time coming unto itself.
Yeah. Yep. So the episode is appropriately titled "The Power to Speak Naked" with Sean Tyler Foley, Showman and Champion for helping you find your voice. Sean Tyler Foley is passionate about sharing people's messages. His purpose? He says it's to teach people to do what I do. My greatest joy comes when people are able to confidently take the stage and impact an audience with what they have to say. Sean Tyler Foley has been in the limelight since the age of 6, acting for film and TV. He attended a fine arts high school, was valedictorian at his post-secondary institution, and even ran for civic election in 2013. Tyler is an entrepreneur and owner of 3 businesses. He founded InView Solutions and Total Buy-In Safety Consulting. And to fulfill his purpose, Tyler is an owner of Drop the Mic Speakers Agency and author of the upcoming book, The Power to Speak Naked. He loves what he does. He says there is a tangible result in seeing people rock an audience, and if he can guide 1,000 people to reach 10,000 themselves, Tyler's life will have had a global impact. To connect with him, go to Sean, S-E-A-N, Sean Tyler Foley, F-O-L-E-Y, SeanTylerFoley.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, all in the show notes. Connect with him on those platforms, and if he can help you rock the stage, connect, and he'll show you how. So the first question that I have to ask, man, is your why. What is your deep why for what you do?
I think it comes down to connection. My driving why right now, it actually comes from my daughter. You being a new father yourself, I think you'll understand this. I remember being in the hospital and her being born, and it was at a tipping point in my life. I've had a lot of change that happened in and around 2015. A lot of different things were happening, and a lot of it felt outside of my control, including the birth of my daughter, because I didn't have anything to do with it. And I remember being in the hospital, and I got to hold her first. And I remember looking down at her, and she was so tiny, and realizing that, that I was responsible for this human being, and I thinking back on all of what I had done through my life, and what had led me to that very moment, being in the hospital holding her, and it occurred to me that, particularly in this day and age, I want her to have everything that she could ever possibly want for her life, and guide her, and really the key to that is for her to have a voice, for her to know that she will be heard, that not only will I and my wife listen to her, but that she has the ability to communicate and talk to the world. And it's always been a mission of mine to help people public speak, but the birth of my daughter really tipped it for me. And especially right and around when she was, a year, 14 months old, and she really started to talk. And I remember seeing her struggle with communication, because you could see behind her eyes that she knew what she wanted. There were things that she wanted to do, but she still she physically couldn't form the words yet, but she still found ways to communicate. I knew what she wanted, even though she couldn't speak, and it was a real eye-opener again for me, as somebody who has studied communication basically all of my life, to see in a very real scenario all of the forms of communication, not just verbal and not just in English. Like, this is a human being that I am able to communicate with without actually being able to use the tools which I typically would.
Oh, definitely. I'm a 18-month-old, and I can understand baby scream. Yeah. So, it's just, I mean, I totally resonate with what you're saying, man. I remember being in the hospital, with our 18-month-old. We had so many complications. We didn't know if she was going to make it. It was all over the place, and it was just like, man, if this happens, if she can make it, like I'll do this, and I'll be there for this, and and you start, just come on, just please make it, and she was preemie, and she was like 5 pounds, if that, and it's just your life takes on a whole different meaning when you hold that life in your arms for the first time. It just takes on a whole different meaning.
Exactly, and from that moment on, I was in the musical Ragtime, so when Kenzie was little, I'd actually sing her songs from the show, and the finale that the lead character, Coalhouse Walker Jr., sings, one of the lines in it is, "Teach every child to raise their voice, and then, my brothers, then won't justice be demanded by 10 million righteous men." And every time I hear that line, like, it sticks in my head. I want to empower everyone, but particularly my daughter, to be able to speak up for what she believes in, what's important to her, and be able to do it in a way that's effective so that people hear her. Because I know a lot of people who will speak up and speak their mind, but you don't want to listen to them.
Right.
So
absolutely.
It's one thing to be able to raise your voice, it's another thing to do it effectively. So that's become that she is my why and my guiding mission.
So would you say that she would be part of your transformational moment, or we talk about on the show, we talk about that one moment. It was that one moment that changed everything. It altered the path. It put you on the path. So what would be a transformational moment in your life that put you on the path to becoming a speaker, an author, a trainer, everything that you do in life, what would be that transformational moment that set that up?
See, it's funny. It's not one, because you're right. It is a path. We have multiple choices, but I know three distinct, very real and raw moments in my life that without them I wouldn't be where I am today. And the first one was at 6 years old, in beginning of February. It was late, just after dinner, and I still remember clearly the scream that my mother made the moment she found out that my father had passed away. Our doctor and a police officer had come to the door, and I wasn't in the area. I was just up close to my room, and I've never heard a sound like that in my life, and I never want to hear it again. But I remember the comfort that I got from my doctor coming down and sitting and explaining what had happened, and just the demeanor in which he was able to do that. I mean, that's got to be the world's worst job, right? Coming to tell a loved one that their spouse is never coming home. And it was really impactful for me, because that nobody gets paid enough for that, ever. And I'm still actually really good friends with Dr. Spackman. In fact, his son and I play in a band together because it was that impactful for me. And it meant the world, because there is no real comfort that you can offer in that moment. But he did his 100%. Best, and that was the first kind of point, because things started to change then. People started to want to, they were really looking for outlets. So I started to do film and television after that as kind of an outlet for it, more actually at that point stage. At a lot of the teachers, my father was a teacher, so a lot of the teachers really took me under the wing. In fact, in my book, I mention it in the dedication. Every one of my elementary school teachers, from Miss Nielsen right up to my grade 6 teacher, they all had a massive impact in my life, and all of them encouraging me, and a lot of them encouraging me in the arts. So I was always in speech competitions, I was always in plays, and it really helped. And that I don't know would have happened if it weren't for February 10th, 1986. That was that first moment. And then the next one would have been in around grade 9, because it would have been November 11th, sometime, whatever grade 9 was for me, 1992, I think. I remember, as part of our Remembrance Day for You, Memorial Day, kind of event at school, we always have the veterans come in and read the famous poem, Flanders Field, in Flanders Field where the poppies grow row on row. And I was always the one who got to do the poem, because they could count on me, right? Like, you're STF, he's gonna be the guy to get it done, right? So I remember, and I'd probably done that poem at that point. I'd probably been reading it and reciting it every year since probably the 3rd grade. So that would have been like the 6th or 7th year that I'd been doing it, right? And it was just something that I just knew was able to do. And I remember coming to the podium to read it. I don't have it in front of me because it's memorized. And it's kind of old hat for me at this point, right? Like, whatever. There's one more time I'm going to do this thing. And I really didn't put a lot. That was my attitude. I'm just going to do this thing. And I remember as I was coming up, there was a gentleman who was, I don't know if he was late to it or whatever. They were kind of wheeling him into position. He was I had to have been a Second World War vet, and he had that I've seen things you will never see in your life look to him.
Oh yeah.
worn and grizzled and hardened, and he had these blue eyes that made him, if, Game of Thrones was around back then, I would have referenced him like a White Walker. Like, he just steely blue, like piercing, like, and he looked at me, and he just kind of tilted his head, and he had a walking cane, even though he was in a wheelchair, and he had a cane with him. And I remember him kind of leaning forward on his cane, like, okay, kid, I've heard this 1,000 times. What are you going to do for me, kind of deal, right? And I remember thinking that the weight of it and the gravitas of what was actually being said with those words, that they actually had meaning, that there was impact behind it, that I couldn't just one-off this thing. And it was the first time ever, that I'd ever experienced stage fright. I'd never had it before, ever in my life.
Wow.
It's happened 2 times since then. And I never want to feel that feeling again. And
right.
that was kind of a real moment for me, where it doesn't matter how many times you've done a talk or how much you think you know your material. If you don't consider your audience and the impact that they are going to have, because it's not about you. It had nothing to do about me. I was honoring the people 100%. in that audience, but I had forgotten that. In fact, I didn't even realize it. And having that realization on the fly really had a massive, massive impact on me, where I realized that it's not about me, it's about the audience. And that kind of became a driving mission from there on in.
Awesome. I like that. What was the third one?
Oh, the third one would have probably been kind of the low point of me just in general. I remember I was acting in Vancouver, and same thing. I'd gotten real snotty. Like, I thought, oh, I'm Sean Tyler Foley, I should get this role, kind of a deal, right? And I mean, I'm a day player at best. You can IMDb me, you can see my film credits, right? But nobody knows my name associated with film. If you right, like, nobody's like, oh yeah, Sean Tyler Foley is that guy in that thing. Nobody knows, right?
Right.
Knows. I'm not a famous actor.
Right.
And but in my head, in the early 2000s, right? I was gonna be the next big thing. How dare you not know my name, kind of deal. And I'd had, again, a series of events, breakups and things like that. Hadn't started booking work, and there was a week where I was legitimately homeless. Like, had zero place to go. Luckily, I lived in Vancouver, and it was warm-ish weather. It was, beginning of June. So it wasn't too rainy, but I was actually legitimately sleeping on a park bench for about a week. And I remember the very last day that I ever put up with it, there was 2 guys I was quote unquote sleeping, like I was resting on the bench, I was conscious. There were 2 guys talking about, whether or not they should wake me up and what they wanted to do to me. And I could hear every word that they were saying. And I was just praying to God that they didn't come near, because I didn't want a confrontation. I certainly didn't want them to do the things they were talking about.
Right.
And I did not want to be there. And at that point, I was weighing, what is my pride? Because the whole reason I was sleeping on a bench was because I was afraid to ask for help. And that was the dumbest thing ever. And it jeopardized everything. And I knew at that moment that I was never not going to ask for help again. If I needed something, I would ask. And from that day on, I have always asked for help, because I don't know everything, Right. I have, from that point forward, recognized the value in relationships, in how important it is to build relationships, and that relational giving is a 2-way street, and everybody needs to pay into that bank. I'm not afraid to ask for favors, because I am openly willing to give them out at any time. If there's something I can do for you, I'm going to do it. And I, cultivate the relationships with people who understand that there's a give and trade in the world, and that we're going to rise above by working together. And I'm sure you understand that from your service, right? You can't you can't rely on the guy standing beside you. You can't rely on anybody, and they need to be able to rely on you too. And then that's kind of the mentality that drove me forward. But that really became a driving mission for me too, in relational building, but at the same time knowing that I don't know everything and that I need to ask for help. And it was funny because right after that, I humbled myself. I asked for help. My buddy Matt, his mom, took me in for like 2 months, just let me kind of crash at their house. She never asked any questions, didn't do anything, bought a whole ton of one bite brownies, fatten me back up. Like, the woman was incredible. And I owe a huge debt to her, and always will. And again, anything that she ever needs. And a lot of times if there's, I don't mind paying it forward because somebody paid it forward for me. So I don't just owe her back, but I owe the universe forward for that grace that she offered and provided.
Sure.
And without that, if I hadn't learned that lesson, I'd probably still be stuck in a way that didn't serve people.
Right. Man, so crazy to look back and be like, yeah, man, I was homeless. Like, I was on that park bench. I was homeless. Like, when you look at somebody now, you never really know where they've come, what they've been through. You don't really know,
No.
and it's just a testament to why I do the show, man, because it's the behind the scenes of the behind the scenes. Like, we struggled with this, and oh, by the way, that one time that I was homeless.
Yeah.
What? What? And that's what makes that's what makes a powerful speaker, is they have these moments in life that they can reference. If you're giving a talk about pride, or if you're giving a talk about living a fulfilling life, living a fulfilling life is not living life on a park bench, ladies and gentlemen. It's not being homeless. It is not, and so you can reference that, because I was homeless, and then people are like, what? Mm-hmm. So the crowd, it just gets drawn in. So, man, that's insane, and I want to thank you for sharing. Talk about your book, and talk about the confidence to speak naked. How did that come about? I'm interested in that.
Well, so again, one of the things that I learned at a very young age was that I had the power to get my way a lot of times, just because I was very articulate. And you don't need to go very far to see proof of that socially. People who talk well tend to get a following. And regardless of whether you personally agree with the statements that they say, those who can articulate a message in a very quick, very succinct way have the ability to affect change.
Right.
And it's one of those, I want to use my powers for good instead of evil. So I have always been aware that, I've had some great advantages in my life. Despite the couple of woe is me stories there, my mom worked very hard. Even though she was a single mom, I still had a very comfortable middle class upbringing. I went to a really nice school. I went to a fine arts high school. I had great friends. I never really lacked for anything ever in my life. Anytime that I did, it was my own fault and stubborn pride that got me there, because I could have reached out to my mom as well. I had great advantages. I am a Caucasian male with a middle class upbringing who grew up in southern Alberta, Canada. So depending on which side of the border we're talking about, I was either in the second or the first greatest country in the world, right? So I have had a very blessed life, and subsequently I talk very well, and I was always encouraged to. I was on stage at 6, so I didn't have stage fright. The first time that I had stage fright, as we discussed, was a very weird and eye-opening moment for me. So a lot of people ask me, well, how do you do that? Like, how can you just get up? Because everybody knows if they need a wedding MC, they phone me. All of my friends. I've MC'd probably 20 of my friends' weddings. And it started to get to the point where the friends of the friends who'd seen me MC their weddings would phone me and ask to MC their weddings.
That's awesome.
Or charities or anything like that. People just know if they need somebody to stand up on stage, you phone Tyler Foley, he'll get up and he'll say anything. And it really is, I'm blessed that, everybody has a gift, right? Some people are painters, some people are singers, some people are brilliant architects, designers, engineers, whatever they happen to be. Mine is that I talk. That's just been my gift.
I love it.
But I don't know why. Like, it took a long time for me to figure out why it was. And a lot of them are the things that you and I just talked about, those transformational moments, what led to that. And then being able to reverse engineer how I became me and have the ability to do what I do confidently. And then that became the book, because I've spent probably 20 years showing people how to do this. First, it was, being an instructor and a TA with the Fine Arts High School, and just arts in general, and teaching people the craft and helping with acting. I owned a talent agency, technically still own a talent agency, although we're not doing much with it these days. And I've always been in around the arts and guiding people on how to say fictional stuff. But that was really, I started to see the power in showing people how to tell their story as opposed to a screenwriter's script. Because there's real power, and I feel that everybody has a story. Your life, you, Sean Douglas, have an incredible story, and you have the ability to tell people that story. And because of it, you have impact. You have the podcast, you have the training, right? Success Core is doing phenomenal things for people because you have the ability to tell your story. Everybody has a story, right? And as we alluded to earlier, there is, you don't know what underneath the surface is.
Oh, yeah.
And when people are able to let you in and let them behind that curtain, behind the scenes, as you had said, that really creates dialogue, that creates understanding, it creates sympathy. And I think if more people were able to share their story and open up and be real and honest with each other, I think a lot of the conflict that we experience in the world would be minimized through the power of communication, through the power of story, through the power of understanding. So it is a driving mission for me, right? I want, if I can empower people to understand that their story matters, that they have power in their voice and not just in their physical ability to make a noise, but in the words that they say and how they say them, that we would be in a better society. And I'm not saying mine is the be all or the end all, but I want to be that beginning, that catalyst, that nexus for change.
Heck yeah. So is that why you named the book How to Speak Naked? Was there a point behind that? Yeah. So the power to speak naked is kind of there's a few things behind that. So first of all, right. Everybody says that if to go overcome the fear of public speaking, picture your audience naked. And I'm like, that isn't overcoming the fear of public speaking, right? That's a ridiculous tool, and I don't know anybody who has ever used it successful. Right? Kind of gross. Picture everybody
you're like,
I think so.
No, but legitimately, I think you have overcome fear. Just ready? Fear. Never mind.
Yeah.
Fear public speaking. But if legitimately you could confidently go stand on a stage naked and deliver a talk, I would think that was the ultimate conquering of fear, in my opinion. Right. So the power to speak naked is a kind of nod to that to me. And I just, please, nobody who's listening, book me for this, but I would be willing to do any talk without my clothes on. Like, I legitimately would do that. If anybody wanted to dare, I would do an adults only 18 plus. We'd have to ID people at the show, but I would deliver any one of my talks naked. That is a guarantee that I would do, but let's not have somebody call me
Let's not. Yeah, let's not. I mean, I would, but I'm just saying. Like, I'm just saying, I can do it, but I really don't want to. But because I'm at a place where I'm confident enough in my abilities as a speaker that no matter what you threw at me, no matter what happened during the talk, I could be naked and it wouldn't even matter to me.
Exactly. But the underwriting part of that title is the ability to speak raw.
Right.
The ability to speak without aid or devices. That you bear for the world the naked truth.
Yeah.
The reality that is not covered up. So it's the power to speak the naked truth, the power to speak naked. And that really is the driving force behind the book, to be able to strip away the facade so that somebody can say the things that they think they shouldn't. Because oftentimes the things that we're afraid to say are the things that most need to be said.
Yep, 100%. Nailed it. So the book launches tomorrow, because this show is live May 7th, 2019. The book launches tomorrow. So
tomorrow,
everybody
May 8th.
Now, everybody right now, go to SeanTylerFoley.com and you can get the book right off the website. Or if you like shopping on Amazon, you can go head to Amazon and search for The Power to Speak Naked. Type in Sean Tyler Foley. The book will come right up. Or type in The Power to Speak Naked. If you are a speaker, you need this book. If you need public speaking skills, read this book. If you need to deliver presentations for your job, read this book. Anytime you had to deliver any type of information in front of anyone, anything, anytime, any place, pick up this book. Boom.
Yeah, no, and thank you for the shout out for that, Sean. It really is, I find that being able to speak is it really comes down to leadership. So this is not just for people who want to be public speaking like you and me. Although if they do want to do that, there will be some great tips and tricks in here. But this is the power of communication, how to communicate effectively and win over your audience. And that could be a boardroom with 7 people.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I went to an event one time. I think it was like $1,500. I think they were paying me like $1,500. Like, yeah, it'd be about I don't know, like 30, 40 people. 8.
Mm-hmm.
8 people. So I'm going ready to speak, and I'm like, this is it. And they're like, I'm really sorry. Like, I'll understand if you want to back out. Like, no, I'm not going to back out. I mean, I'm already here. I'm going to deliver just like there was 1,000 people or one person. Like, I'm just going to deliver my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great, and some people bought, some books and, some coaching packages and some different things. And I deliver, like I said, if there's one person or 1,000 people, I deliver the same way, because you never know who's in the audience. And if they see that, there's only 8 people, so I'm going to give 0.5%, then, it's a dig on you as a speaker and a professional. But moreover, if you crush it, that person could bring you into that 1,000 person event.
Yeah.
So I mean, I totally get it. Very cool. So with the remaining moment of our time, talk about your entrepreneurship, what you speak about, how you can get booked to speak if the listeners right now are listening to this and they want to book you, right? So talk about, Drop the Mic and, the other businesses that you do and, how to book you.
So booking me is real easy, SeanTylerFoley.com, and there's a link right there on getting me. You can get a hold of me through there, through any of the other mediums, Facebook, Instagram, all the rest of it. But it's funny because I speak on a lot of varied topics. In fact, the reason you and I are scheduled now is because in about half an hour, I'm going to be giving a presentation on safety, on the principles of health and safety management, and how leadership within safety can be integrated into management systems, and how to keep your people working safely and effectively and efficiently. So I have found this little niche in safety training for the last couple of years, but with Drop the Mic, I found it's weird how it's come full circle. I got into safety through my businesses. I owned a few, as you had mentioned. I still own a few, but the one that really kind of again was a great learning moment was when I lost my mapping business because my business partner passed away, and we didn't have the right director's insurance.
Wow.
And the business just dissolved, literally overnight dissolved. It was gone. I couldn't keep it going. We didn't have the mechanisms in place for me to take over all of the leases of the equipment that we had, and there were millions of dollars tied up in the leases. And so with that, it was gone. But in the process of starting that business, our primary client was the provincial government here in Alberta. And as part of it, you needed to have this thing called the Certificate of Recognition, which is a program that they put on to promote health and safety management systems being developed by the organizations that they work with. So I had started to do this stuff, and I realized that I actually knew a lot about safety, not because of working, but because of my work in film, and particularly the little bit that I did with stunts. So I actually learned a lot about what I knew about safety from my work in film and television, and then translated that forward. So when the company collapsed, I had some entrepreneurial skills, I had the ability to speak, and I understood safety, and I was able to tie some of the messages together and compare them to my film, and I started speaking a lot and doing a lot of keynote presentations around safety, and particularly what I knew and how I related safety to film, which is always kind of that neat little niche. So it didn't matter the industry that I was coming in. They were like, haha, stunt guy, pretty cool. And even though, by the way, I'm not a stunt guy, for all my buddies out there who are in Stunts Canada, who are listening to this going, Tyler's not a stunt guy, I want to acknowledge it up front. Sean Tyler Foley, not a stunt guy. Not a stunt guy.
Don't book me for
that. I am an actor who used to do a few stunts. So asterisk clarification, right? But I knew a whole bunch of guys who were really good at it, and I know what the work that went into it was. So so that kind of became my first series of keynote presentations. But then again, that driving mission, a lot of people asking me, well, how do you do what you do? How do you do what you do? I started doing small little workshops and helping coach people into just tweaking their talk or finding their things or gaining confidence. And the more people started to ask it, the more I realized that the themes were the same. And so with the help of a business partner, Asha Hearn, I became an owner and managing director of Drop the Mic. We put it together. It was an online training, and still is an online training program to help speakers learn the craft of an art of public speaking. And through the course of that, my keynotes have started to change from safety presentations, which are now probably 60% of what I do, to just general speaker training. So we have Drop the Mic. We have a couple of regional meetup groups called Perfect Your Pitch, where entrepreneurs can come in and they get a 5-minute slot to come and try and work on their on perfecting an elevator pitch or a presentation. So they will come and they will tell us what the outcome is. What are they trying to do? Are they trying to sell? Are they trying to motivate? Are they trying to educate? What is the outcome of the talk? We have a live audience for them. The audience gives them feedback, and then we have professional evaluators give feedback as well. It's recorded, and then they can use that for their social media or however they want to as they start to rework the talk and get it honed down and perfected. So perfect your pitch. So those are a couple of the different areas that we're at right now and part of my entrepreneurship. I'm a serial entrepreneur, so I'm never doing just one thing. I don't know if that's a positive or a negative. Sometimes it feels like a detriment, and sometimes it feels like a genius thing because I always have the ability to switch over to something else.
Very cool, man. I really, really like that. Yeah, you're kind of like me, and we're kind of one and the same. We got all these different things that we're kind of messing with, and these different businesses here, and we're doing these things here, and we're kind of putting a footprint here, and we can kind of do a variety of things, and I applaud you for that, man. That takes a certain percentage of craziness and mindset to do that.
It really does. Well, and so
funny.
Speaking of your serial entrepreneurship, we already got a plug in for Success Core. What I understand that part of the reason why we had to push this was because you just launched a clothing line, sir.
Yeah, I did. I just last week launched LYB Clothing Inc. LYB stands for Live Your Brand. And
yep.
LYB Clothing Inc. is an affirmation and empowerment clothing line. And I'm big on core values. So, people want to put status in wearing J. Crew, Banana Republic, Guess, all these name brand clothes, Abercrombie, Banana Republic, Lucky. They want to put the social status on these clothes. And I don't believe that they should. I think you should live your core values and put the brand on yourself and not the brand of of a certain clothing. So anyway, the shirts contain affirmations and truth statements and, different things and belief statements and things like that. And it's going to grow. I put 4 of each just in the beginning, but I've got other designs coming out and whatever. So appreciate that. So let's do this. Before we close, we've got about a couple minutes left. Let's do this. We're going to do a shameless plug. We can plug your websites, programs, products, services, whatever it is that you want the audience to know and to do. Shameless plug moment, 30 seconds, go.
Shameless plug. When this book was launched, it was originally going to be just a free resource, and then it got picked up by a publisher, and the whole publishing company was like, we want it to be a #1 bestseller. And although it wasn't the original design of it, now my ego has gotten in the way. So I would love it if everybody can go to Amazon and purchase it off of Amazon so that we can actually track it. You can get the book from the website, but you're going to find it for a lower cost on Amazon this week. So Power to Speak Naked on Amazon. If everybody can go there and buy the book for me, I will forever be in your debt because at this point it has become an ego play. I'm willing to admit it right up front. I want to be able to say Sean Tyler Foley, #1 bestseller, and I need everybody's help to do that.
Absolutely. So if you want to book him, go to Sean Tyler Foley, SEAN, SeanTylerFoley.com. Hit him up in Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and check out his YouTube channel. Subscribe to his channel. So with that, let's end it like this. Give us a nugget of knowledge that will motivate, transcend, and inspire someone to take action.
I'm going to go back to what I said about 10 minutes ago. If there is something stuck in the back of your throat that you want to say but feel like you shouldn't, don't should on yourself. Say the thing that needs to be said, and you'd be surprised at the results that you get.
Outstanding. Thank you for being an amazing guest, my friend.
Oh, thank you for having me, Sean. I appreciate it.
Everybody right now, go to Amazon and search for The Power to Speak Naked. And with that, subscribe to Life Transformation Radio and live your brand. find opportunities every day to live out the core values that you hold deep in your heart. And I call this living your brand. So until next episode, live a great life.